Welcome back, everyone. It's BBM Productions, and today we are talking about adaptations. And Brian, I know you had some thoughts on this, so go right ahead, sir.
No and go. I'm really disappointed in you, Mike. But sure thing. I'll go ahead. The reason I wanted to talk about adaptations is because Netflix has that hot new series called The Witcher. I guess it's probably more of a response to Game of Thrones. They are trying to do their own Game of Thrones. I don't know if it's quite succeeding. Not quite there, but it's still an interesting case and adaptation that I would wish to discuss. So you first have the novels from, I think they're Polish novels?
No idea.
Yeah, beats me.
English, yeah. It's somewhere in Europe. Polish, Scandinavian, something. Someone can roast me in the comments if anyone cares that much. But then it got a video game series. The first two games were the PC Master Race, in the words of Ben Yahtzee Croshaw. Almost too hard to play, but they make the third one well enough that a lot of people name it as their top 10 game of the decade.
Yeah, it's a legendary game series. It sounds like something right up my alley, but I've never touched it personally.
That's the same for me. I mean, I remember back working in GameStop, hearing about them and hearing about how good they were. But I know of them, seen the trailers and whatnot, but never actually played them.
Well, it's done by a small developer who's getting some notoriety now, and that's good enough to get a Netflix. But we're Netflix and you're greenlit, so have
Actually,
any of you guys,
go ahead.
have you seen the series on Netflix yet?
I did try watching it. I got to be honest. I tried 3 different times and couldn't make it through the first episode. It just didn't make any sense. They were all over the place. And I feel like it's one of those things where you have to have at least cursory knowledge of either the game or the books, I'm guessing, in order to know the world that they're throwing you into. But it's just a lot of characters and a lot of different scenes, and none of it seemed to make any sense. I've heard that it all kind of comes together in the last episode, but man, I don't know if I could if I could tough it out through all of that. But I don't know.
How many episodes is the season anyway? You know?
I want to say it's 9 something.
I'm on episode 8. I've been slowly dealing with it. But
What's your take on it?
yeah, I can get into it because I played the games and I have cursory knowledge, as you saying. It's still a little annoying for me, especially the first 3 episodes was still very hard, but once it gets going, it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
8 episodes, by the way. 8 episodes.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's hard to get into, especially if you don't know about it, because the decisions. So it's a little sad. But I'm guessing Netflix wanted their Game of Thrones of their own. This one has enough buzz, but it's weird enough that it's not very inclusive to most people.
The one thing that I kind of had a problem with when they announced it was I didn't see Henry Cavill as a gamer. I mean, it's hard to find.
No, he's a great Jarrett, though. Okay, I was a little disappointed with the actual when I heard the casting list, but he does a damn good job with that role.
And evidently, he is a gamer, at least supposedly. He's a Warcraft guy, supposedly. I don't know. It's always
like all this shit that you have to be a gamer. It's a book first. As long as you're a good enough actor to be able to play the character. I mean, it's cool. He's a gamer.
I don't disagree. And again, I have an awareness of the series. I have never played any of the games, so I have really no dog in this fight. But I don't know. For some reason, it's the way I know about The Witcher is through the game. So I thought it would be cool to get a gamer, and then I was upset that they didn't get a gamer, and then he's a gamer anyway. So.
Gamer. Okay, let's move on to something more relevant. Game of Thrones. Anyone?
Well, no. Before we go on,
books?
so talk to me more about The Witcher. So how was it adapted from the book to the game, and then how is it adapted from the game to the show? Is the show more on the book or the show more on the game?
Yeah,
From
that's
what
a
I
good
can
question.
tell, it's neither and both. The Dandelion character, the Bard character from the actual game, gets his name changed to like Joff, Joffel or something that's more true to the books. And they
Okay.
cover more the early books that really aren't covered by any of the games, but they change some stuff. Like supposedly Gerald was not at the big battle scene that they showcase in the first scene. But it's a little bit of both.
So you've played the games, but you haven't read the books,
That
though.
is correct. I
Okay,
found I have a really big aversion to fantasy novels. I'm trying to correct that.
I got you. Yeah.
I
No,
mean, you like
but
what you like.
so
Yeah,
from
I'm
the game, are you like satisfied with how they've adapted it for the show?
yeah, I'm with most of the fans that Trish, who's one of the witches in the series, should be a fiery redhead. Okay.
Okay, so like her hair color's different or something.
Yeah, they got some woman. I I just think for that character, fiery red hair fits the character better.
What? So
I
that's what she was in the video game.
Yes, I
Oh,
think
okay.
that's what she was in the book. A lot of people complained about all sorts of casting decisions. That's the only one that I took any credence with. Probably because I like Trist a lot.
That is tough. I mean, when you talk about like adaptations, like because a lot of authors go out of their way to paint a picture of what somebody looks like, and then when they cast and that person doesn't look like it, I feel like fans of a book or video game, whatever it is they're adapting, are thrown off by that a lot.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Because I feel like there was a few complaints like that when it came to Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Some,
sure.
what
Yeah,
were
yeah.
some of those? And did either one of you guys read Game of Thrones?
I haven't. No, I was introduced to the show first.
Well, sorry. I think it's Song of Wind and Fire. I think is the
Fire and
book.
Ice, I think.
Fire and Ice. Okay. As I said, not a fantasy guy. This is why I tried The Hobbit, but I never read the Lord of the Rings books. I don't know.
Mhm.
I still don't know how they made that into three movies. Was those
Heh.
three movies any good?
Which ones? The
The
Hobbit or
Hobbit.
the movies?
Yes.
I thought they were good movies, and they definitely fit within the Peter Jackson Lord of the
Cinematic
Rings
universe.
world. Yeah, yeah. But they didn't capture the tone of the book very well, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the book was hard to get through.
Yeah. If you had trouble with The Hobbit, you'd probably have even more trouble with Lord of the Rings, to be honest.
Um,
Books.
High fantasy ain't my cup of tea, but the movies were cool because they had good action, good actors, and good characterizations.
Sure.
Plus, it was more suited to today's audience. The movies. It's another good thing about adaptations. When you have a new audience, you got to do a new take on it, new faces, new perspectives.
Yeah,
I
you
think
gotta agree with that.
with I think Lord of the Rings, they did a lot better job, especially if you watch the extended versions of adapting the books, as versus The Hobbit. They got a lot of the main points for The Hobbit, but there was kind of a different feel. I don't know. It's hard to explain unless you've watched the movies and then read the books. Like they got, especially the like beginning part. It has a different feel to it. Almost more lighthearted, maybe more, for lack of a better word, cartoony. You expect it to be. Um, I think they tried to do some of that with the songs and whatnot, um, but it strikes a darker tone like Lord of the Rings, which is why I think they did what they did because they knew that they were trying to link it to Lord of the Rings.
Sure, and it's a different audience. You're trying to mass appeal, so working in almost taking a Marvel-esque approach of some light.
Yeah.
That may also be a symptom of turning, what is it, 130 pages, 150-page book, be feature-length movies. There's just to have a
Yeah, Harry Potter is
motion.
also a great example of that. The adaptation of the books to movies. Their games never did quite well. They were just stupid little children's things, from what I could tell.
Money grabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grabs. Not something like The Witcher, but The Witcher's TV series got made because it was popular. All these Game of Thrones internet games were made because the TV series were popular.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Witcher was sort of a standout that I don't know if the test of time will really stand by it.
So compared to other video game adaptations, where would you put it?
Oh, definitely The Witcher. I mean, yeah, they took liberties with the structure, which I understood, but I understood how it would make new entries into the series. The actors, everyone but Triss, maybe not the actress who plays Ciri, but it's always hard to do children actresses. All the younger roles, but all the older roles were pretty solid. I would give it a positive rating, but I would say a 6 to 7 because I consider 5 average.
Because usually video game adaptations do not do well.
Well, it's sort of a mixture between the books and the video game. They need to put some events in the book, in the video games, and they're doing some good world building, good character building. They're only really focusing on 3 characters primarily. And I think that's a smart maneuver. There's plenty of characters, but they're focusing on the 3 main characters they need to. And I think that's smart.
That may be the key too, is having a source material that the video game is based off of.
Yes.
As far as adapting it to TV or movies, because usually movies adapted directly from a video game, Tomb Raider, that kind of thing, does not usually have a good track record.
No, they're money grabs or tax evasion schemes.
Yeah, I think that's something inherent to trying to adapt a video game is that the story is built for 20 to 40 hours of interactive entertainment. So, the storylines, let's be honest, are usually a little bit more fantastical, and trying to condense all that, what eventually amounts to some nuance into 2 hours is difficult. I'm looking over the list of movies based on video games now, and honestly, this is going to sound like a meme, but I mean it wholeheartedly. I think my favorite thing on this list is the original Mortal Kombat.
It wasn't bad. The original wasn't.
I still stand by the Super Mario Brothers movie. That thing was
I was wondering if that one was going to get
it was
brought
a
up.
nightmare hilariousness. Okay, they just took such liberties. I'm like, really? This is pretty cool, actually, but it's so freaking dumb.
On its own, it would have been a fine movie if they called it something else, and because there was no link other than the names of the characters.
It would have been horrible if you didn't have the reference to the video game, just the perversion of the real world Goombas. That was hilarious. On its own, it would have been crap.
To me, that's one of those, it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, they had some good actors. They weren't giving it their best performance in this, but they were good actors around.
Yeah, man, John Leguizamo, big fan.
Yeah.
And remember the Doom movie?
Oh, I don't even try to keep up with Dune. I think they're trying to make a new one.
That's another one of those that gets a lot of flack. I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't great, but it's just
Has anyone tried to read the book, though?
No, Doom, not Dune.
Oh,
not
Dune.
Frank Herbert's Dune, yeah.
No, Doom, as in The Rock. And Paul Urban.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I like that first person bit they had. Yeah.
It was stupid. It was stupid action fun. It was fine.
Yeah.
With The Rock.
If you take it for what it is, I think it wasn't a bad film.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they took a script that they had laying around for a decent action movie and just changed parts of it to match the Doom.
Yeah, put The Rock in it. That's fine.
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
It's not really something that should have been adapted to film, but they did that with a lot worse. What was it? House of the Dead? Or
Yeah, I didn't realize they made a movie after that. I'm looking at the list.
that was just god awful. But that
The
was
first
one of
Resident Evil was okay.
arguable. It was passable because they really had nothing to do with the Resident Evil universe. Second one, everyone went flipping over Who was it in that? Jill?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
was
don't remember
Jill.
the actress.
Jill in that outfit, but she was second banana to a badass action star from Fifth Element. I mean,
Oh yeah,
those are another movie series that I only watch when I'm like, I want some stupid action horror crap.
sure.
Best part of those movies was the creepy little girl in the basement.
Oh my
Uh,
God,
Computer generated one. You're going to die down here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So quotable. That whole sequence. To me, my
Yeah.
favorite part is that when that guy gets Swiss cheese, he's like
Yeah.
dodging all those lasers, like a
yes,
badass.
that
And then the
that
one
is
comes and it's a grid.
Yeah.
Whoops.
that was actually parodied in actually anime.
Really?
The grid room, yes.
Yeah.
A series called Angel Beats, and they had basically a tunnel with a whole bunch of traps, and they definitely had a room with all those grids. And there was a big guy who couldn't avoid the grid one.
That's kind of fun.
But also, these people also couldn't die because it was the afterlife. So, moving on. That's not
that
adapted
brings up
from
a
anything.
good topic there. You're a resident anime guy. Have there been any good adaptations of Ben?
A series I was interested in called. See, anime is an interesting series because they have light novels that get manga that sometimes get popular. I mean, of course, One Punch Man was one of the weirdest adaptations because if you look at the original artist, he's freaking horrible artist. But he has two series that are critically acclaimed now that they made animes out of them. One Punch Man, I'm sure even you guys heard of it.
Sure, yeah.
That's meme-tastic. What about Mob Psycho 100? Has that made the mainstream? Didn't think so.
Heard of that.
I've heard of it because,
Anime snobs
roommate-
say it's better, but it's really not. They're about the same. They use the sort of same points. It's the same guy, so same sort of humor.
You're saying Mob Psycho 100 is better than One Punch Man, is what the snobs say?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, but I don't see any different. They just play to a different audience.
Sure.
One Punch Man plays more to a Western audience because of the superhero-centric focus of it. Mob Psycho comes off as a weird slice of life mixed with psychic action.
I'm assuming that specifically is why the snobs think it's better because, this is more westernized, so.
It definitely has better art direct. I wouldn't even say the anime has better art direction, but it's definitely more psychedelic than Mob Psycho 100. There's several other light novels, but the most funniest one all. Did you guys ever hear of Goblin Slayer? Or is that just the anime community?
I've heard of it. I keep meaning to check it out because the bits I've seen look hilarious.
They got flack for having a rape in the first episode. A lot of people were
that'll do
like,
it.
same thing. There was also a Me Too thing and Rise into the Shield Hero, which is the same light novel, probably written by a woman. No one can confirm it. The main character gets accused of rape in the first episode and basically is shoved off to the side. He gets a little slave girl, a demi-human slave girl. People just railing against the first episode and just write it off as trash. Like criticizing the Me Too. The Japanese does not care about Me Too, okay? To show that Japan doesn't care, it's going to go one step further with something I call revenge fantasy that's been getting popular. But let me not get into it.
Yeah, probably not the best one.
If you guys have time, look up Redo of a Healer. Just look it up sometime.
I don't know if I should now.
Bill, I wanted to discuss Ender's Game, the movie, because I'm pretty sure that you like it more than me.
I wouldn't say that I liked it, but I didn't think that it was as bad as you said it was going to be. I think that'd probably be
it was as bad as I said it was.
I said I didn't think it was as bad as you said it was, but
okay, yes. I frankly, just having the bully become part of the geet. I can't say that word. Geesh.
Yeah.
The geesh was just someone putting their kid in front stage, like my kid doesn't fit this role, but I want him to be part of the Geese towards the end. That's what it felt like. That it was just script manipulation because of some favoritism, or maybe because the actor was slightly better, they rewrote the script.
And I think that they didn't have enough time to flesh out.
And I really don't think they should have had Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford, but surrounding him sort of dampened all the other roles. Having such a big name actor sort of.
You're right. I think he was right for the role, but you're absolutely right. He had almost too much star power, and I think they were trying to use his, his star power to draw people into the film. But he chewed a lot of scenery because everybody around him were largely amateurs. Like they blew the whole budget on getting Harrison Ford, is what it felt like.
I mean, I like the design. I wish they would have actually spent more money on making the actual design for the battle room. It was good. Okay.
I mean, if they had more of Ben Kingsley, like that would have balanced it out,
Yeah.
And Ms. Mazer, but
it's sort of hard to fit him into a large chunk of the script.
Yeah, because he wasn't in a lot of the book until toward the end. Yeah.
And I was a little spoiled because I heard the author, Orson Scott Card, talking about how he would do the script if he got it adapted, and it was nothing like he was saying. So,
yeah,
preconceived notions probably ruined my perceptions of that movie. But that sometimes happens with adaptations, especially when the author talks about what I'm going to do when I adapt it, and you fucking don't do it.
Well, and that's a case of probably just bad negotiation. Some authors demand to keep complete creative control. Like J.K. Rowling had a huge hand in the films, so that's probably more like he sold the book or the rights to the screenplay for the book to the production company or the studio, and that had a lot of producer influence, is what it felt like to me.
Yeah, sure. At that point, I mean, what are you really going to say, man? You sold the rights.
Yeah. So that comes down to whatever contract, I mean, we've been big fans of Orson Scott Card and Ender's Game for years, but I don't know how much of a national following or recognition, So it may have been one of those deals where he took what he could get, and unfortunately the movie suffered and it flopped because there's a whole universe that they could have done. Multiple movies from that, and because of the outcome of the first film, we probably will never see them. I mean, personally, I'd love to see it be one of those movies that had a great idea that kind of flopped, that gets picked up as a series by one of the streaming services, because I think Ender's Game would do better as a series than it would as a film.
Maybe even animated, so you would take out the actor. Talking about books,
I think you could do live action.
Yeah, but children actors are harder to deal with, both in labor management. You can only have them for a certain amount of time. I'll just say go animate it.
I don't know. I'd like to see kind of a Stranger Things type of thing, because I think they did really well,
Good point. Talking about Netflix, since not going back to The Witcher, and you brought up books, so we got Stephen King has plenty of his novels adapted, and that's quite interesting. Sure. But I want to jump to his son, Joe Hill, who has several of his movies adapted. Some of them are even on Netflix. You guys probably aren't a big fan, but I am. They had Mr. Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, play one of his books for a movie, which happens to be on Netflix.
Was that Horns?
Yes, Horns. You've actually watched it or heard of it, I assume?
I've heard of it. I've heard great things, but I don't watch a lot of Netflix, honestly.
But I'm excited for anime. I don't know if it's animated, but Joe Hill has his comic book being adapted into a Netflix series called Lock and Key. And that should be quite good.
What's it about?
Basically, just about a family has a tragedy. The dad gets shot. It's really complex, but
just a quick breakdown.
Spoil it too much is the dad gets shot, so the mother and the two children have to move away to this house, and it's actually three children. Sorry, there's also Brody, the youngest one. Have to move to like someplace in Massachusetts. I forget the actual location. It's like an old estate, and the children are finding all these keyholes. Basically, it's supernatural fantasy. There's these keys that do different things. Like the boy who finds the first key opens a door that lets him become a ghost, so he floats around.
It's kind of cool.
There's a whole big villain who has a back arc with the parents, who I would get into spoilers, but it's a really good series. I would recommend checking it out on Netflix when it comes out if you have a subscription to that. Love the comic book. Can't wait to see if the adaptation ruins it or actually does it justice.
Thinking a lot about some of the adaptations that come to mind, and I feel kind of bad because I haven't. So The Watchmen, for instance, I have seen the movie, and I've read parts of the graphic novel. I haven't seen the show. I really don't have many opinions there.
The show has nothing to do with actually the comic book.
Okay, so it's just another story in the.
Yeah, they fucked over Alan Moore years ago, and
That's the author?
yes, he did not.
Yeah, because I've heard him talk shit about the movie anyway.
Yeah, he didn't like the movie. So what? I liked the movie.
Yeah, me too.
The diehard fans really, the whole Alan Moore, I think, is really out there. He is really out there, but
Great
does that
segue, actually.
play-
Die Hard, based on a novel.
Really?
Technically an adaptation.
Not know that.
Not so much in the characters, but the overall theme and plot points are taken from a book. You can Google it.
Was all the sequels pretty much adaptations of other things? That'd be interesting.
My understanding is no.
No, just the first concept. I meant the story gets really. The first story is a little out there, but they just get worse and worse. That's what sort of makes it an interesting series.
Sure.
But that is interesting. I did not know that. Bill, did you know that?
I had no idea.
And the more you know, the better. Ding!
Knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe! You set me up for that way too hard.
Ooh, there's a good one. TV show adapted from a line of toys. G.I. Joe.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I feel like they did that a lot.
Was actually, they also had a movie. And
Oh, yeah!
the movie had
forgot
one of the
about
Doctor Who, the Ninth Doctor as a villain, at least one of them, which I found interesting.
Is that David Tennant?
No, Chris.
Then I don't care.
Oh, David Tennant is your Doctor.
He's the only one I've ever seen. So. Yes.
Oh, Doctor Who is a sci-fi relic and cultural capstone. And let's not get into it because of the new Doctor. Bill, change the subject quickly before we start talking about that Doctor.
Oh, goodness.
Quickly. Or Mike. I don't care. Stephen King novels turning into books. Okay, Carrie. I actually read that book, Carrie.
Oh, Mike's favorite movie of all time, man. Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love Stephen King.
Conjured him.
I love it so much. If I could make a top 10 worst movies of our lifetime, Shawshank Redemption would be.
Really? You think that's overrated, I guess?
It is, in my opinion, the most overrated movie.
Oh, go fuck a doc. It wasn't the cultural gemstone people make it out to be, but it's a solid adaptation. You want a horrible adaptation of Stephen King? Get the Running Man. Arnold Schwarzenegger. They completely demolished that story.
Damn, I was just going to say unpopular opinion, but damn, Brian said go fuck a duck.
Seriously, saying that's the worst.
Well, also, Brian agreed with me in a way and said that it was an overrated movie, so I'll take that as a win.
Half win.
I have to disagree with both of you. I really liked it. I will agree. I will concede that was really bad line delivery on that particular line. So I get it. You know, I conjured him. That was a tough one.
It may legitimately be the only thing that comes to mind where one line of a movie. There have been a few single lines in songs that ruined it for me, but that's the only movie I can think of that has one line that just turns me off completely.
That's pretty bad.
I'm just a hater. Understand, Mike.
I hate sand. It's
Okay, but
everywhere.
also Stephen King had so many flops and populars. Actually, The Mist is a weird cult following by Stephen King.
Sure.
I find that one interesting.
I always get that one mixed up because there was like 4 different fog mist related movies that came out at the same time. Which one was that? Is that the
Is
one
that
with the giant monsters from another dimension?
I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
but talking about
Yes,
it,
you guys came.
I think it's the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yeah, which one
yeah,
is it?
it came out
What,
at a bad time where there was a lot of fog and crap and a lot of confusing movies. I think that was the Arrival area where plot didn't matter, just creepy effects and nuance worked. So let's move away from
one of
that.
those had like the
Let's
worst
move
ending
to
ever.
let's
Okay, so
move to
the Mark Wahlberg one was The Happening.
The Happening.
Mist, yeah. The Mist had Andre Brower. Anyway, sorry.
one that might surprise you. There was They Live and The Thing. You know, those sort of 2 words titles were both based on, I think, short stories or novels from years ago, and I found that interesting. Pretty sure I saw some documentaries on that. Both of them were great horrors that were adapted rather well.
Can't say I read the book, but I did like The Thing.
The movie was good. The book is old. This was actually the second adaptation of The
The
Thing.
movie was good. The book is old.
But They Live is also based off of some weird short story, or maybe it was a comic book also. I think it was a short story turned into a comic book, turned into something completely different.
Is that the one with the glasses where he
Yep.
can see the yeah. Had that
So-
wrestler dude or something that was in it, right?
Randy Piper.
Yeah. Roddy
I thought
Piper.
it was
Yeah.
good. I think it was good for a D-rate wrestler, Roddy Piper. Who's
Yeah.
him to do anything? Did he do anything after? Not really. But he was
No.
in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a strange movie, but it wasn't bad. I do remember that.
Okay, we covered all sorts of adaptions, and I could go on and on and on. But there's
I have a couple.
Okay.
Kind of obscure ones, if you don't mind.
okay.
Shocking. I'm coming with some obscure shit here. We have Tristram Shandy, a cock and bull story, which is an adaptation of an 18th century novel where it's a man writing an autobiography about how he's failing to write his biography. I can't. The film adaptation is a guy failing. They're failing to make a movie about the book where he's failing to make an autobiography about himself. So there's a lot of layers there with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. It's pretty good. The layers of, because parts of it will be them filming the movie, and then the character in the movie is breaking the fourth wall, and then we see people making the movie about the guy breaking the fourth wall. It's pretty good.
No, I was just gonna say that kind of also reminds me. What do you guys think about all the Shakespeare adaptations?
Good question. I love the '90s Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet, man. I don't care what anyone says.
Overrated, but it was good, but overrated. Too many emo people liked it for me to not leave a bad taste.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Okay, you're reminding me of something. Go on.
But there's
I
there's
love
a-
10 Things I Hate About You, but that was a weird adaptation.
I was just about to bring that up. 10 Things I Hate About You, Taming of the Shrew.
Yep, good one.
For a
Yeah.
fellow. Yeah.
Josh Hartnett and Mekhi Phifer, right?
Yep.
Solid film.
I actually really liked a lot of those.
Yeah, me too. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, that's
I
the
feel like a
sort
lot
of
of people
direction
don't-
I wanted to go in. Old stories being adapted into the newer era. Like I was talking to Mike earlier about Pygmalion. Tons of adaptions. Probably in the early 20th century, My Fair Lady was the most popular adaptation. 80 movies to adapt Pygmalion. Basically, a man makes a statue, falls in love with it, God turns it to life. A Weird Science was the 80s version. I think there's been one almost every decade. Some guy or girl makes something and it comes to life somehow. I know there was something like this in either the 2000s been adapted over and over again.
Now, okay?
It's the concept that's been adapted. There is some timeless themes also, like the Pygmalion thing.
Sure.
You're talking about the actual Greek mythical
Premise, yes.
premise. Okay. Because then there was also the play that was written, like
Yeah, that was My Fair Lady was based. The musical was based on the play Pygmalion, which was based on that. It's several layers deep, like Mike was talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd never heard the term, and I'm actually a big My Fair Lady fan. So
You are? Oh, well.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not the biggest musical fan.
I don't mind the occasional musical.
Did you see the new Cats?
No, God no.
People.
I was never a fan of.
Hey, I liked Andrew
Cats.
Lloyd Webber's musical collection, even though I wasn't really in a musical. I had like a CD when I was younger, and I would listen to that. Really liked the Cats. Magical Mr. Mistopheles. Phantom of the Opera had several good songs. There were several Jesus-style plays that
Sure.
had some good music to them. Jesus Christ, superstar, I can't sing, so I should stop it now.
I like where you're going with that. Yeah, it's such a dense thing, adaptation.
Yeah,
Really.
virtually talk about anything. Almost everything is adapted from other ideas. But direct adaptions are a better cultivation.
There was that scandal, and of course, cover songs would be a separate thing. But there was a scandal about the Lion King, based on a Japanese graphic novel.
Anime.
Back anime. Yeah.
Kimra,
Well, it was
the
just,
white lion.
yeah. Instead of Simba, it was Kimba, and it was
There's also a term for people coming up with the same sort of ideas within
parallel thought or whatever.
parallel thought. Yes, thank you. That does happen in the world. And
I get that.
Especially when they're sort of going off of some of these older ideas. The Lion King isn't really a complex story. It's about a kid
It's not.
who has a brother who wants to take over. So he kills the king and strands the son someplace, and the son comes back.
I think
That's almost the Oedipus story. That's almost the Oedipus story in some ways. Not really, but
no.
similar concept of the son coming back to kill someone.
And banging his mom.
Yeah, that's something completely different. But
What were you saying, Bill?
I was going to say a lot of Lion King I always thought was based off of Hamlet.
Sure. Well, yeah, okay, so both are really adaptation in a way of the story of Hamlet. But then the Simba and Kimba thing,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
the animation of the lion just seems a little... And I think they were 20 to 30 years apart. So it's not... I know parallel thought makes a lot of sense. We're all influenced by the same things. So we all kind of... people of a similar mind might come to the same conclusion and want to tell a story about it. So I get that. It just... It's a little too on the nose.
well, this brings up another case of we're moving in from adaptation to stealing, which is sort of weird. I mean, it happens a lot in the west to east, as you brought up Kimbla and Simba. There's the Hunger Games, which a lot of people like. Yeah, it's a ripoff of Battle Royale, which was a manga well before they made their movie. And Hunger Games itself was a book series before the movies.
Sure.
So it's adaptation, maybe, although I read that the writer said they never read Battle Royale. Could be parallel thought, or it could be a westernized adaptation.
Here's a question: what do you think is the best adaptation you've ever seen from any realm to film?
It's a good question.
Very good.
I'm honestly not... The problem with me answering this question is I'm not familiar with a lot of the source materials for a lot of them.
Yeah, I understand that.
Think on that a little bit. I don't want to go back to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, well, we'll think on that. That's definitely a deep issue. I don't even think... there's some source material. I personally think I'll have to go with Stephen King. The Body.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Stand by Me. That was just
Oh.
a fabulous adaptation. As I said, Running Man was crap. There was several things about Shawshank Redemption that I didn't like in the movie version that I definitely liked the book better. In Shawshank Redemption, Running Man, I might have said this twice or thrice, but Running Man was a crap adaptation. I hear
Make it into a
Long
drinking.
Walk might actually be getting an adaptation, which is one of my favorite Bachman books, and I'm excited about that.
That one I actually read.
Oh, you read The Long Walk?
I did. I did read that one. I think at your suggestion.
Oh, that was probably his best Bachman book. I mean, there was the one about the weird school shooter. I don't remember if the Nazi one, that the kid who goes under the old Nazi, was his Bachman book or his fourth season short stories, but that was crap movie, a crap story all around. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here.
So-
Still mulling over my favorite adaptation.
Okay, yeah, I would have to say, yeah.
Or is there is there an adaptation you actually thought was an improvement on the source material?
As I said, Stand By Me was probably an improvement.
Yeah.
It was rather tame story. It was a good story, but the movie made it just so much better.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, if you really look at it, there wasn't much story there to begin with. There's kids traveling through the woods to see a body. That's the end of the whole story. But it was the characters that it was very character driven, and they did a very good job with the movie.
Now, I haven't seen the new It. For this adaptation story, I'm sort of stuck with authors I've seen written. So I read. I keep getting those words wrong and mixed up. Scatterbrain Brian, that's who I am. But yes, Stephen King. Christopher Pike didn't have anything really adapted. I did not keep up with the Harry Potter series, and I'm not a hardcore fantasy. So all these fantasies.
Harry Potter. I was happy with the films. I think they're good for the most part.
Did you read the books though?
Yes, I read all of them.
Okay, that's one
but
of the.
I think the casting was done well. So all around, I think they were good films. But if I had to choose between the two, I would pick the books, just because they're able to flesh out the world and things a lot more. I feel like if they had made the movies a bit longer or had even extended versions, they probably could have added in a lot of the small details from the books that would have made the adaptation for a film closer to the books.
It's sort of sad. Rowling cannot seem to get away from Harry Potter. She tried. Same thing with Stephanie Myers of the Twilight. Even though Harry Potter is way advanced opposed to Twilight, it's sort of sad that Stephanie Myers was never able to get out of that hole either.
I'm not going to cry too many tears over these multimillionaires who got rich doing something they love.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying it's sad that she's sort of fixated on Harry Potter because it's the only thing she has. I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying that's an interest in there are some writers who get typecast, but I
mean, she built an entire universe. So for her to want to continue writing within that universe, I can understand why she would want to do that. It's hard to switch gears and try something completely different. I mean, most authors, even like Orson Scott Card, look how much time he spent within the Ender universe writing novels. Whether he followed Bean or followed Ender. I mean, he does a ton of other stuff, but he also does write series. So I can't really blame her for sticking with that if that's what she, like Mike said, if that's what she loves, if that's, it was her creation.
It's not the fact she tried to move out of that zone and couldn't. That's the feel I got. She got, how there's actors who are typecast. I think there's some authors who get series cast.
That's probably also a product of the fact that not only were her books wildly successful, but the films were. So that's probably a lot of pull from fans, a lot of pull from, production companies asking for more books, asking for more films, and having her, consult or write for that. It's kind of being a victim of your own success, I think, with that. Because Orson Scott Card, people like him can branch out and do other series because the fame hasn't kind of locked them into one particular popular thing.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I think it's more, okay, I'm going to pick up the new J.K. Rowling book, and immediately, your mind is set for one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
J.K. Rowling is. And same with musicians, right? Oh, this is what I expect from my Beastie Boys. If it's not that, I'm going to be... Even if it's good in its own right, it's not the same.
Yeah, and can you imagine the rage people would have if George R.R. Martin put out another book that wasn't the last Game of Thrones book or the Final book? Yeah, so
we talked about the best adaptation. What are some adaptions you're sort of mad at? I'm a fan of the Harry Dresden series of Jim Butcher, and he got a show. It was a horrible, horrible show. I'm sort of mad that they put out such a Sci-Fi Network put out such a half-baked adaptation of the Dresden Files books. Could have done so much better if they put out a decent version. Is there anything that comes off your head?
I mean, obviously
against Ender's Game.
Yeah, I was going to say that was one of the most disappointing for me. Hunger Games were okay.
Did you read the books though?
Yeah, I actually read the books first.
Are the books better?
Yeah, the books were better. And I think it suffered from some casting issues, to be honest.
Who?
The Hunger Games? You talking about who in the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Katniss probably was one of them, to be honest. And it wasn't that I think in any way she's a bad actress.
He wasn't right for the role.
Exactly. Just didn't really seem right for the role. And that, again, goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, was you build in your mind a picture of the character, how they look, how they act, how they talk, how they would react to certain things. Then when you see the film, it's kind of doesn't quite fit. Especially after reading a series of books with this character over and over, progressing, it's hard sometimes to see certain actresses or actors in those roles, and that was kind of one of them.
Series seem to be a trap for a lot of it. Like I brought up with Roland, it's sort of some series can be a trap for an author. As a writer, it's interesting, and we've gotten off the adaptation, but I think we pretty much shot that dead horse in the leg by now.
All video game adaptations usually, for the most part, are disappointments.
Assassin's Creed, I know people talk a lot of shit about it because it has been an annual.
Oh, did you hear about the developer of Assassin's Creed doing a separate game and then it getting reviewed bomb? Ancestors. He made a monkey game where you evolved from a monkey. I just heard it's bad mechanics, but go on.
Ubisoft gets a lot of shit anyway.
Dragon Ball Z live action film.
Oh my god.
I heard someone talking about that recently.
I think the Mario Brothers movie was a better adaptation.
Yeah. Dragon Ball Z. I mean, has anyone successfully done a good anime to a Hollywood film adaptation?
I don't think so.
I heard actually Adida Battle Angel was good. I really need to go to watch that. Yeah. Ghost in the Shell was sort of me from what I hear.
I hope Cowboy Bebop is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. Netflix has Cowboy Bebop.
Death Note? I heard terrible things about Death Note.
Oh, I didn't like the original Death Note. I know the anime community will probably exercise me and hang me from a cross upside down for saying that, but Death Note is definitely the most overrated series ever.
Didn't they already
at its moments, but there was just too many logical inconsistencies for me to get into it, and I hated the main character. You hate the main character, yet you think he's supposed to be smart, yet he's a complete dumbass. No.
I like. I think the best video game directly adapted from a movie was Lord of the Rings: Two Towers.
Oh, a lot of the Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah, you got me to play that, and it was pretty good.
I was
Talk
just
about video games adapted. Like Lord
well, hold on.
has
The
the
other,
best track record.
yeah,
Let him finish his thought.
the other. Well, this one's definitely off the topic of video games, but Firefly, the board game, adapted. It's not telling the story of the show, but it's a game in the universe. It was a lot of fun. Way better than that free to play game that they tried to cobble together.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I all around, for whatever reason, if I had to pick, Lord of the Rings would probably be my favorite movie adaptation from a book, and I think that they've done a good job at also adapting it to a lot of the video games. I wouldn't say all. It wouldn't say all, but a lot of them they've done a decent job.
Yeah, they had a very popular series of Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
Mordor. I think
Shadow of Mordor, you got
Shadow
it.
of Mordor. That was pretty good. I got sick of that battle mechanic pretty quickly. They used the sort of Arkham Asylum battle system, which got really popular there for a while.
It did.
Oh, this is a funny adaptation, but the game you're so fond of, Fallen Order, Mike.
Yeah.
People are
Wait.
pretty much saying that that's a Souls-like game, Dark Souls.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's Souls-esque in the.
How would you know? Neither one of you guys actually said you haven't played Dark Souls, or
I've seen many videos.
oh, you've seen.
It's.
But
I
how
mean,
can you gameplay? You can't just compare how they seem.
I've watched many videos
Okay.
of people playing Dark Souls, so I understand how the game works. And yeah, in that it's you're dodging a lot, you're rolling, you really don't want to get hit. It's not like Devil May Cry where you can just run into a room, reckless abandon, and not try to dodge out of the way of stuff. So, but I mean that's kind of a grasp. I understand why people are calling it a Souls-esque game because there aren't a lot of games that require you to move a lot and try to dodge. A lot of it is either you're parrying like Assassin's Creed or Arkham Asylum, or you're just running and gunning like Devil May Cry. But that's like kind of a mechanic. It's like calling anything that has cover a Gears of War-esque game. You know what I'm saying?
Well, some people try to put that label on everything. Like
Yeah, no, I agree.
Croshaw calls all first-person shooters spank wee garbage, spank wee or something like that. I'm misquoting him.
Sounds like a snob. Or like for a long time, any first-person shooter was a
PC master race.
Did he coin it?
Yep, he's credited as coining it, and
Fair enough.
says
Fair enough.
he sort of regrets it sometimes with all these PC games nowadays, but it's still his fault.
I'm waiting for their. I know that we're running over on time, but it's something that I thought of when we started talking. It's something that I thought of when we started talking about doing adaptations, and this one's kind of it's a bit of a reach, but just go with me. One time, I don't know if you guys remember, was my man Mitchell Matthews or something. He was a YouTuber. He had that hey hi hello intro line. He did a series of live shows. There was a period a few years ago where YouTubers were trying to do live shows, and I knew a guy at the Fillmore in Silver Spring, so I got in for free. And it was like they were trying to do their YouTube show but live, and it was fucking awful. So there was definitely a period there 10 years ago where YouTubers were really trying to make that a thing, and then they stopped, and I'm glad they did. It does not translate well. Does not translate
Definitely
well.
failure in adaptation there.
Absolutely. That's my least favorite adaptation of all time. I really liked it. And it was after I saw that it was done. It was over.
There's many other adaptations I could bring up. I actually like Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, big fan. Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, it didn't really.
That's another good one for manga to video game to movie.
It was a Canadian, but it wasn't technically it wasn't manga because it was a Canadian writer.
Oh, it was a manga.
Okay, you argue the difference.
What do they call comic books in Japan, Brian? I swear to God, they better call them comic books. I don't want to.
What do they call comic books in Canada? A comic book? E?
No, you're probably right. That's a blast from the past, man. I better be able to go to Japan and get a Green Lantern comic book, not a fucking Green Lantern manga.
Oh man, I remember that. We were so heated about that one. Both of us.
I think I'm.
The fucking comic book.
Yes, Scott Manga.
Scott Manga.
Scott Pilgrim was done in manga style.
Pilgrim.
Can your alternate ego be Scott Manga now, Brian?
Scott Manga. Well, if you want to remember that and nickname me that. So, next
I'm gonna write it down.
podcast, Scott Manga. What? Oh, don't you remember the previous Scott podcast? Oh, yeah.
I feel like whenever you go on you should do like a separate series of manga reviews where you're Scott Manga.
Yeah.
Scott Manga does a review of Devil May Cry, the manga. Just to piss Mike off. I'm pretty sure they actually have Devil May Cry manga.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, I bet you there's a lot more. I bet you there are way more adaptations in Japan. I bet you everything gets its own.
Oh, Spider-Man's been adapted in Japan. Speeding. There's some weird pronunciation. He has a mecha robot. He is a mech robot. Think about
No
that.
way. I don't believe it.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Ready Player One. That's. We were talking. I was talking to some people about it. I'm like, most overrated book ever, and the movie probably isn't good. Supposedly, there's a podcast just dedicated to shitting on Ready Player One, the book.
Nice.
I found that hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because it really was overrated. Everyone's like, it's like if you take out all the reference to pop culture, what is it? Some whiny, sad story about some guy trying to stalk this somewhat hot chick.
Oh yeah, Virtual Stalking. It's a movie about virtual stalking. I don't know. I've never read the book. The movie was not great. Happy.
Yeah.
Mom, leave me alone. I'm playing my game trying to save the world.
Hopefully when we all live in a virtual world in the future. I mean, Ready Player One did it. There's several mangas where people get stuck in a virtual world. Sword Art Online, another one of those light novels adapted into some shitty mangas and animes.
It's like they adapted real life to a video game, and people prefer the video game.
Yeah. Whoa.
Second Life, right? Second Life was an adaptation. I prefer the original myself. But.
Brian's like one of those Sims where they just delete the door.
Put him in a pool and take out the ladders.
Yeah.
I've discovered through doing these podcasts that I don't read a lot, guys.
Well, don't worry. I've stopped reading the last 10 years. Been getting mainly audiobooks, so.
Fair. Yeah.
I used to read a lot. I read a lot of Stephen King, a lot of Orson Scott Card. Then I found a magical thing called audiobooks, and I'm like, fuck that. Why do I need to read? That's definitely an interesting topic to end on.
Let somebody else do my damn reading. What the hell do I look like?
Audiobooks are becoming so much more popular. I'm wondering how many novelizations of movies and other TV series are going to be adapted just for audiobook audience.
Using your eyes for suckers.
Exactly. You have a good enough of a writer and a good enough of a narrator, you can almost make anything good.
Yeah,
Harry
it'd be kind
Potter
of cool.
sucks in audiobook form, just to let you know. It
What
sucks,
makes it-
or at least
What? Say that
Harry
again?
Potter sucks as an audiobook. I'll just tell you this now. Maybe it was the narrator, but it just seemed like it sucked.
I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks too lately, but I will say I'm extremely picky on who reads them. And I found that almost always the only ones I can really tolerate is when they're read by an old British guy.
No Will Wheaton?
Will Wheaton? No.
Will Wheaton.
I haven't
He did
heard
Ready
of
Player
him.
One. He wasn't as
I
bad
don't know
as
what
I
it
thought.
is. But usually you get the old British guys, they're the best at doing the audiobooks.
Oh, you probably would like the audiobook of Harry Potter then. I can't stand the old British guys. I like the guys who can do the young guy and the girls. The guys tend to be a little better in my opinion because the girls can't do good. Can't. There's not many female readers who can do a good guy voice, but there are some
Okay.
guys who can do good female voices,
I gotcha.
like Spike. Spike from Buffy is my favorite narrator from not Harry Potter, the Dresden Files.
Mm. See, here's a question for you. When you listen to audiobooks, do you like when they just read the book, or do you like the people who try to kind of almost like, I don't know, do the roles, like change their voices for each particular character?
Like a teleplay.
You need
Yeah,
some
exactly.
variations. You don't need much, but you do need some variation. You can have a completely horrible audiobook if you don't change the tone for different characters. It gets very confusing.
I like when the author, when the reader actually just reads the story, but will change his voice for the character. But I don't like when they do the teleplay where they have multiple people reading different parts, because I've seen a lot of those lately, and for some reason I just find it irritating.
I could see that being distracting, sure.
I think
Yeah,
you need to
whether-
have a special adapted version, like Ender Games Alive actually pulls that off quite well. But
Yeah.
I have seen some other attempts where you can get away with a male voice actor and a female voice actor to do the voices.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
read a book series that I liked that did that, but they kept, like the first book, they had the female do all the narration and occasionally brought in the male voice actor.
I
Then
will
they
say
did the
that I've
reverse
listened-
for the second book.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of Orson Scott Card's audio books, and they do use usually one male and one female. I think it's actually somebody related to him, his daughter or something, and then somebody that, because they do a lot of the books, Orson Scott Card books, like the same readers do the audiobook adaptations, and they do well with that. And also I've noticed like some of the way his books are structured, where there's two stories that end up intertwining. They usually use one male reader, one female reader, and then when they come together, they alternate.
Well, thanks for watching our discussion on adaptations. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Toss a coin to your Witcher and leave a like on the video. And don't forget to leave in the comments how much you think we are wrong and we should burn in hell. Thanks. Bye.